This is an overview of the X32 console. I'm doing this overview for the audiovisual team at Bay Park Baptist Church, just to provide a really quick flyby of the console itself as we bring it into service into our church. The console itself is equipped as a 32 input, 16 output console. Because it's a digital console, it provides lots of terrific services and features. And it's both a shallow console and a deep console. Shallow in that the basics are pretty easy to learn. Deep because there is an awful lot of functionality put into the console. What I'd like to do is just break the console out into its various components. The main part of the console, where most of the work will likely take place, is really with the input section here and the output section here. And so each one of these is no different than the input channel of an analog console. The main difference is that as you select a particular channel, this part of the console becomes active. And this part of the console allows you to make adjustments for the input gain, if you want to add gate or dynamics or equalization or send the signal out to a particular bus. That's what this section does. And for each channel that I select, you can see that it is changing its parameters. So I can actually take a look at, let's say, the bass channel here, and if I have the bass channel active for the bass guitar, I can look at the various settings here. And I'll just show you what that looks like. So we can see on the screen the gain section. Here is the dynamic section. Here is the EQ section. Here are the sends for the various buses. And then this is the left, right, and mono. For the console here, we've actually set it up as we've done before, so that we have an aux-fed sub. So for the bass channel, the way that I get the aux-fed is I engage the mono bus, and I adjust that level, which you can see moving up and down here. And that level adjusts the level of the signal going to the subwoofer itself. So that's a little bit about how this particular section of the console works. I've already gone ahead and set up all of the various channels, fairly typical morning service. So I have bass, I have the drums, electric guitar, acoustic guitar. If we had a piano active, I have the piano active. If we had keys active, the keys would be there. Worship leader, if the worship leader has an acoustic guitar, and if we have a couple of background vocals. We also typically use a pulpit mic, and we have a wireless mic for our pastor. And that's generally how the session would be set up. What's different here, though, is that setting all of these channels up, we can actually control that mix on this side. So if we look at the difference between the two, these are all our individual channels, but we can group all of these channels, and we can put them here into this section that is called DCA. And we have 8 DCA channels. I have one set up for bass and drums, one for guitars, one for the piano and keys, one for the worship leader, one for the background vocals. And if we had a computer signal coming in, I could make that active. Pulpit and pastor, I've got them muted right now. So that's how the input channels operate. Really, again, not all that different from what you may be used to on the analog console. The main difference is that you have to select the channel that you're wanting to work with. And once selected, most of the time, you're going to be spending really on adjusting the attenuation here. That's probably where most of your tuning will occur, and likely until you get used to the board with the equalization section that's here. The dynamic section and the gate section do provide a lot of additional capabilities for the board, But that's probably, when you start working with the console, it's probably where you're going to be mostly focused is in this area. So you'd select your channel, and then you'd make your adjustments for the channel if you need to. And the rest of it obviously is just setting your input levels. But again, the nice thing about having them all here is that you can mix everything really with just these 5 faders. You mix the worship team, and then obviously you can just quickly grab the pulpit and pastor mic without having to reach over this part of the console. Now, having said that, the console's got layers. So the first 16 channels come on this layer here. And if we press this button, we get another set of 16 channels. They're not used right now. And then here we have the auxiliary ins, which in this case I've got a computer, left and right, the USB for recording services, and then our FX returns, where I've got some reverbs and some delays set up. And then our busmaster is really the sends out to our monitors, and you can see there are 4 monitors here. So basically, when we are doing worship service, this board will already be pre-configured for the activities that we're doing. And then here's where most of the mixing would take place. You'd be able to make general adjustments here. Of course, you can still do it individually on this part of the board. And I'll just take a few moments to describe how the monitoring would work. So with monitoring, you want to go from your group DCAs to this section, which is called bus 1 through 8. And you can see here I have 4 buses that I've set up, monitor 1, 2, 3, and 4. And to be able to send something out to the monitor, you select which monitor you want, so select monitor 1. And there's this little button called Sends on Fader, and if I press that, I now can control whatever I need to send to that monitor just by adjusting these faders. So if it were the worship leader, presumably the worship leader wants to hear some of his own voice, and so I might bring some signal up for that. Might want to hear his acoustic guitar, and might want to hear a little bit of the vocals. So you can see there, that's basically the signals that we are sending to monitor 1. And as soon as I press this Sends on Fader out, it will revert to the mix layer, and the faders are motorized, so you can see it quickly returns there. So making adjustments for monitors, very easy to do it this way. There are other ways that you can do it with this board, but very easy to set up the monitors. And so with that, we have a very brief introduction to what the console can do. I'll be doing hands-on training with the team, but I thought it might be interesting for the team to be able to see what the console looks like, get a little bit of a sense as to how it operates, and together we'll explore some of the rich features of the console. So thanks for watching.